is very squeezy and uncomfortable to having dinner inside the room.
It look like overcrowded.
It's very sad for me because I cannot do anything. Like in jail.
These aren't videos from a year ago. They were given to us just a few weeks back. It's been 11 months since the COVID-19 virus exploded in foreign worker dormitories and a total lockdown was declared. Since then, dormitories have been cleared of the virus and migrant workers have gone back to work. The pandemic put a spotlight on the 300,000 or so foreign workers who are housed in mass dormitories. Their living conditions provided the perfect storm for a pandemic to spread. 1 year on, I find out what's being done to control the infection in dorms and its impact on our foreign workers.
Long time already, I never see them also.
Hi, yeah.
Over the course of 3 months, we contacted migrant workers for their stories. In this episode of Talking Point, I'm going to show you their lives through their eyes, unfiltered.
This is my dormitory. Here is a playground. Before we played here, but now it's totally restricted. My cooking area is totally locked. Nobody allowed to enter or cook, so we have to choose cater. Our dining area still empty. We are not allowed to come here and eat. We have to take our meal inside the room. One room got 12 people. If we want to go supermarket to buy something, groceries, we have to change our pass.
আমরা এক জায়গায় বসে অনেকে লাঞ্চের টাইমে আমরা লাঞ্চ করতাম, অনেক লোক একসাথে বসে খাইতাম, কিন্তু এখন আমরা সেটা খেতে পারি না।
The room is smaller than my previous dormitory. Currently, we are staying at 10% this room. It look like overcrowded.
While some of our migrant workers live in accommodations such as rented and private housing, about half of them live in mass dormitories, all located in obscure parts of Singapore. It was in these dorms where COVID-19 cases exploded, leading to over 150,000 workers infected. The government moved in to seal off the dorms, began a regime of mass testing, disinfecting the premises, and instituting safe distancing measures. By August, infection rates dropped, and the lockdown was lifted. Most workers could go back to work. I asked those who live in dormitories to tell me what life is like for them now.
Staircase also barricaded. We are not allowed to take staircase. While we are collecting our food from the catering, we have to take a long queue to collect foods or buy foods. So all the migrant workers are depressed right now, following all rules and regulation restriction.
Sakib's video stood out to me the most, so I'm giving him a call to find out more. Sakib works as a safety coordinator and has been living in Singapore for 11 years. It's been about 5 months since his dormitory was released from lockdown.
We are not really allowed to go out on the field or any playground. We are not even allowed to gathering on corridor.
Yeah.
We are only allowed to go to toilet, use toilet and come back to our room. We are not really able to go all those facilities system like cooking and sports zone or physical exercise because the restriction is still in there.
Before COVID-19 struck, workers could access these facilities and congregate in open spaces freely. So, do you feel like you are still in lockdown?
Yeah, I do feel because I am not really able to go out in community and I'm not really able to take any public transport and I'm not really able to cook yet and I'm not able to go to playground. There is so many restrictions still in my dorm. So I feel actually I'm in lockdown.
I can totally understand why there are restrictions. I mean, even for you and I, we've got all these new social distancing rules because of this pandemic. But I can't help but wonder if the rules imposed on our migrant workers are a bit too much. I want to experience for myself what life in a dorm under these restrictions is like. I was denied access into Saqib's dorm, but I was allowed to visit another dormitory. 10 months ago, this place was declared an isolation area. It was one of the first few dormitories in Singapore to be identified as a COVID-19 cluster. At that time, about 7,000 migrant workers here were under lockdown. One of them is Suresh.
Good morning.
Good morning. Prepare myself fast food packing.
So, can you leave the room for work anytime you?
No, like I only transport timing only I go back outside.
To minimize congestion, workers can only leave their room for work at designated times.
Yeah.
Upstairs one.
இங்க போகும்போது இந்த அவுட்டு அங்க வந்து இன்ன. Yeah, can do now can I do?
Oh, now cannot.
Yeah. You're showing this is a
So just now behind there is the last scan.
yeah, this one last scan can go out for work, SG work pass, this one permit. Green means can go out for work, I am a healthy. Red means not allowed to work.
Oh, and how do they find out, if you're green or red?
Yeah, this one testing, swab test, blood test.
Workers in dormitories are tested for COVID-19 every 2 weeks.
All right. Suresh, thank you. I'll see you at night.
While Suresh is at work, I notice the barricades outside and inside the dormitory. I've asked to speak to the man in charge of this dormitory. I want to know if all of this is necessary.
Chairman, why are there all these restrictions in dormitories?
These restrictive measures are very, very important in order to mitigate the infection rates. Therefore, it's really necessary to reduce the crowding and also co-mingling of the workers within the dormitory. So as you can see, this is the segregation measures or even the new entry points. Basically ensure that we have multiple releasing points in this dormitory so as to ensure that the residents go in and out of the dormitory swiftly and also go through the necessary checks.
So definitely the intention is to try to keep them safe and well socially distanced, right?
That's right.
There's a definite lack of social interaction. Now, have the workers gotten used to that?
Well, they have no choice practically. We realize that they do need to have some social life, they do need to entertain.
It's 8 p.m. and Suresh has just returned from work. As the residents here aren't allowed to eat in the canteen for now, they can take away food from there or cook their own dinner. Something that this dormitory, unlike at Saqib's, has provided for.
Suresh, after work, what do you do in your free time?
After work, coming room, after rest up, cooking, then makan, go bed, see movies, play games, phone, home calling, just things.
So before COVID, what did you used to do when you were free?
Before COVID, I sometimes free time, I go out. Sometime only I meet my friends.
Do you miss doing those things that you used to do?
Yeah, miss, but no choice.
From what I see, Suresh is allowed to cook, and it's not very cramped where he eats. Since my visit to his dorm, the gym has opened up and communal sports have resumed. But I'm discovering that restrictions differ across dormitories, with some being more stringent than others. And as I'm about to find out, strict rules don't just apply within the dorms, but even on the one day these workers are supposed to get their rest.
And when you come out, how long are you allowed to spend here?
Only 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yes.
I'm in Little India. Typically on a Sunday, you'd see many foreign workers gather in open spaces like these to socialize or to play games. But today, it's noticeably quiet. As evening falls, I try to speak to some of the migrant workers, but finding ones who stay in dormitories is proving to be challenging. Do you stay in a dormitory?
No.
Dormitory?
No. No, I stay house. No dormitory, company house.
And I soon find out why. Your friends who are in the dormitory, what are they allowed to do?
They allowed to 2 hour or 1 hour like that, 3 hour. The government give the permission, the dormitory people, they give permission only, they go out for hour only.
So you don't meet them also?
Long time already, I never see them also.
Last time have contact, but now they cannot come out.
Do you ever know what they do on the rest day?
Off day also they stay in the house or dormitory inside.
These workers I'm meeting don't stay in dormitories, so they're not subjected to the same kind of restrictions. Since the pandemic, migrant workers living in dormitories can only go to purpose-built recreation centers on their rest days. These centers have amenities like F&B outlets, a barber, remittance service, and a supermarket. I'm waiting for Kavi Kumar. He typically comes to this recreation center in Sembawang once a week. I want to know if that's enough for him.
Hi.
Hey, Kavi, did you come to the dormitory?
Yes.
How do you normally come here?
Just walking only. Public transport.
Kavi is allowed to go to a recreation center only because he comes from a dorm cleared of COVID-19. Still, he needs to produce a negative swab test and apply for an exit pass. He is only allowed to go to a recreation center assigned to him. To apply for an exit permit, like how long does it normally take?
At least 2 days or 1 day before we have to apply.
And when you come out, how long are you allowed to spend here?
Only 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah, but no enough, but no choice. We have only allowed 3 hours.
Are you shopping today?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Is that enough for you?
Of course, no enough. Because normally we are only allowed work and come back to dorm.
Yeah.
Only 1 day allowed exit pass to come here. So also I only allowed RC. I'm not going to other place.
So what do you think you miss the most?
Most means that I cannot see my relative here because only I can see that my dormitory, my co-workers. These are the things I really miss. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks so much, man, for bringing me along.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. After seeing what a recreation center is like and talking to Kavi, I can see why he wants to come here more often, just so he can maximize his time outside the dormitory. But even then, he only has 3 hours a week outside, and that includes travel time.
Go registration center, then come back, send money only. Because so boring.
Our company lorry bring back to home. It takes 1.5 hours. Left 1.5 hours, I really couldn't make my time to meet friends and have fun.
For me, it's not enough because it's very small place. It's very sad for me because I cannot do anything. Like in jail, just go eating, only eating, watching movie like that, and then go on bed, lying on bed, resting. That's why it's very hard for us.
Rashid.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me over. These strict rules imposed on our migrant workers have been going on months after lockdown.
It's like feel something mentally depressed because you know that we are people.
And I'm about to find out the dire effects.
Our mind.
I've been tracking migrant workers to hear their stories about what life has been like since COVID-19 exploded in their dormitories. This is the picture I'm getting. The dorms may no longer be in lockdown, but some of these workers still aren't able to do the things that they used to, like gather with their friends for a meal. And this is not just within the dormitories, but even outside on their day off. But just being able to spend their rest day outside is so troublesome that many choose to stay in. I'm meeting Rashid. Early this year, his company moved him to a private accommodation as his dormitory was too far from his current work site.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, this is where you stay now?
Yes, it's my accommodation.
Nice. Rashid tells me life is better living outside a dormitory. But I'm surprised to learn he is still facing restrictions.
If I stay in dormitory, there have all the rules given by the dormitory and MOM and government also need to follow. Here also I need to follow, but still I don't go around like shopping mall or anything. I just go out for my essential to buy food only.
So even though you don't stay in a dormitory,
Yes,
you still have restrictions.
yes.
Why is that?
Restriction is from government, MOM, BCA. As I am a safety personnel in my job site, so I need to follow the BCA requirements, all those requirements they have. Still now we don't have any approval to go outside like as before.
So how do you feel now that you can't really do those things?
It's like feel something mentally depressed because you know that we are people, we also need to refresh our mind.
How do you cope with that kind of feeling? Like, how do you make yourself feel better?
I doing a lot of voluntary job. As I am mentally depressed last time, so I trying to teach other person who also mentally depressed. I am a safety coordinator for job site in my company, and my job to take care all my company people whoever working in my side or outside. So I have to take care their health.
How are they feeling?
Every single person have different feeling. So in this case, few of them they say they are very bored because during COVID they cannot go home leave, so they miss their family. Few of them they say they are mentally not so good.
Advocacy groups have pointed to prolonged confinement and job uncertainties affecting the mental state of many migrant workers in Singapore. So much so that a government task force was set up in November to enhance mental care support. Among the initiatives, deploying public officers to dormitories so they can look out for workers who may be showing signs of anxiety or stress. After months talking to our migrant workers, I'm taking what I've learnt to the Manpower Ministry. Martin Cole oversees all the plans rolled out by the ministry's new division, ACE, set up to take the lead in the fight against COVID-19 in foreign worker dormitories. Martin, I've been speaking to some migrant workers after lockdown, and they brought up some issues which I was hoping that you could answer. So, firstly, within the dorms, they're going back to work, but they still have some restrictions.
My cooking area is totally locked. Nobody allowed to enter or cook.
What's your response to that?
There are dorms that have ensuite cooking facilities. Now, those that have communal cooking facilities, that was where we had the restriction. We were trying to control the infection, the transmission. But we have already lifted it, and we have invited dorm operators to apply to MOM so that we are satisfied that the safe management measures are all in place.
Currently, we are staying at 10% this room. It's still 16 beds inside.
In terms of sleeping arrangements, some of them have mentioned that, yes, there are fewer people, but there's still the same number of beds in the room, which means they don't have the kind of space that they need.
Give us some time for the dorm operators to do something about it. We are working very closely with the dorm operators to make sure that we continue with this de-densification effort.
I cannot go follow bus, cannot go MRT.
Is it true that dormitory workers are not allowed to take public transport at all?
For work activities, we require employers to provide transport to and from work. because when it comes to peak hour traffic, the risk of transmission is the highest. And when we have large groups of workers going out to work using public transport, that's where we introduce this transmission risk in both directions, between the dorm workers as well as the community. But when it comes to other activities other than work, while we strongly encourage employers to arrange transport, we allow public transport because the transmission risk is a lot lower.
So, migrant workers are allowed to take public transport as long as it is not during peak periods.
Do you see the restriction on public transport changing anytime soon?
Unfortunately, for as long as COVID is with us, I would say that I don't see it changing.
3 hours you can go out and then come back. That's it only.
They're only allowed to go to the recreation centres and back for 3 hours. When will this change?
We already have plans to increase the frequency of visits to the recreation centre and for longer. And you can expect positive changes this quarter.
Wow, okay, that's great news for them then. Given that we don't really see an end to this pandemic at this moment, how would we go about improving the lives of the workers who stay in dormitories?
So we already have 7 quick-built dorms that have been launched. They have improved the specifications to improve the living environment for the workers, as well as to make them more resilient to infection. Over the course of the year, we will be launching more quick-built dorms and to increase the number of bed spaces to about 25,000.
Quick-built dorms are a temporary measure and will serve as a guide for more permanent solutions to our migrant worker housing. So 1 year on, because of all the robust measures in place, COVID-19 infection rates among our migrant workers have drastically gone down. Yes, some are still struggling to adapt to their new normal, but things are looking up.
This could be the future of migrant worker dorms in Singapore. More spacious rooms, each with 5 single beds spaced at least 1 meter apart, compared to a typical dormitory where up to 16 workers can share a room. The room also comes with an ensuite toilet, shower and sink. Outside, there are also larger communal spaces like dedicated kitchens and shared amenities like a mini-mart. Thanks. So a silver lining to this pandemic is that it has accelerated plans to improve the living conditions of our migrant workers. But what they really hope for is to be able to rejoin the community.
I hope our restriction have to pull out and giving us space to have release our stress.
I hope we can go around Singapore and eat at the hawker center.
Let us to go outside even once a month like that, because we need to relax also our mind.